Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and we're back out here in the garage for another upcoming projects and first impressions video. The past couple of days, I've been really trying to go to the range a bunch because I got a huge stack of stuff that I got to film and make reviews on, so I need to get ahead. It's much easier to do all the stuff I need to do here at the house on my own time because it doesn't matter what time of day it is or what's going on, but when it comes to shooting footage at the range, I have to make sure pretty much the range is open or it's less crowded. If I'm shooting unsuppressed, if I'm trying to shoot something suppressed or review a suppressor, I kind of need the range typically to myself because it's crazy to, try to review a suppressor when other people are shooting unsuppressed right next to you. So I have to go at certain times of the day or whatever. So I'm trying to get ahead on the range footage. Because as I said, I can do all the other stuff here at the house at my own time. I can do it in the middle of the night if I need to, in the morning, after work, whatever. So I'm not really under a time constraint as much. But I took, in the past day, I was able to take 3 things to the range. I want to show you what those are. And also show you an upcoming project because I was able to see my friend Richard, who has picked up another cool gun and has linked it to the channel for review. Let me see if this one is it here. Yes, it is. Okay, so this one is cool because I believe, it's my understanding, that Beretta is discontinuing this model. This is a Beretta 92 FS Inox, or Inox. This is an Italian-made one and has all the Italian markings on it. Richard was telling me something about the shape of the dust cover. I guess these are contoured differently than the American-made ones, and some people like them, some people don't, but I got to do some research on that. But this is the old Inox, where these are made of stainless steel. So the slide and the barrel are stainless steel, where I believe the new ones or whatever are just like bar stock carbon steel that is finished in like a Cerakote or something to make it look like this, but it's not really stainless steel. And the whole point of the Inox or the Inox series, and the reason I say Inox is that it's short for inoxidizable, but everyone says Inox. And I know regardless of which one I say, people are going to say, "You're stupid, you get it wrong." So I'll just go ahead and use both to please everybody. But this one has an aluminum frame, just like all the other 92s, but the slide and the barrel are stainless steel. So these are, as I said, either discontinued or going to be discontinued. He picked this up used, and it looks, for the most part, to be unaltered. It has the original style magazines, which are finished in this kind of anti-sand coating that like the military uses, but in more of a silvery shade to match the gun. The base plate has been changed out by Richard. He did let me borrow a couple of other magazines that I think are Metgar ones, but that's the only thing that's, I think, changed out on this. And he's also not 100% sure if the recoil spring has been changed out at all, because that slide moves really easy, but compared to my other 92s, it feels about the same to me. He thinks it feels a little bit lighter, but Beretta does not mark their recoil springs with paint. Some companies do that. I think SIG does, FN does. So if it has like a green, paint on the end, it's this, pound. Beretta doesn't do that. But for me, just handling this, it's a smooth action like I would expect from a Beretta. To me, it feels like a stock Beretta 92, but I don't know. He says it might have been changed out, so I'll have to take that into consideration when I'm reviewing the gun. But yeah, this thing is pretty darn sweet. I love stainless steel guns, and there's fewer and fewer companies doing the stainless stuff today. I don't know, pretty cool. And I guess the only thing about this gun that I do not like, and it's kind of like one of my big gripes with companies like Ruger and things, and I understand it's for litigation reasons or whatever, but on the side of this slide it says, "Warning, Retract slide to see if loaded, fires without magazine. I mean, come on. I mean, to me, this is just, see if I can get that in focus. To me, that's just so unattractive, okay? And at least with Ruger, they try to hide it a little bit. You know, they'll put it like under a dust cover or something. But so many companies don't do that, and to me, this just ruins the beautiful aesthetic of this gun. Just absolutely beautiful aesthetic of this gun. Just get that off. That is just gross. And I guess the the frame also says read manual before use. So they're just putting the whole owner's manual on the side of the gun. Just get that off of there. But who knows? Maybe they put it on there for some litigation reasons or whatever. Silly and stupid. But besides that, the gun is beautiful and awesome. I love the Beretta 92. I typically shoot them pretty darn well. And they're a gun that I have grown to love over the years, because when I first got into guns, I started off with Glocks because they were what I could afford. And then I always wanted a 1911. Eventually I got a Colt 1911, and then I kind of early on bought into the whole, you know, the 1911 is the greatest gun in the world thing, and it is a great gun. And of course, the Beretta 92 replaced the 1911, so I think I was biased against the Beretta for a long time, because how dare they replace the 1911? And then I actually shot a Beretta 92, and I'm like, hey, there's actually something to this. They're just fantastic guns. They're fantastic guns. And I still think that the SIG P220 that a lot of people currently hate and replaced this thing in the military, I would have to say probably in 30 or 40 years, people are going to look back on the P320 and love it just as much as they love the Beretta or the 1911. It's just, I think it's just this generational thing. It's kind of like those stories you hear about, you know, as you get older, you start to say and do the same things your parents did and said. And, you know, when you were young, you're like, I'm never going to be that way. And then you end up being just like your parents. I think it's kind of that way in the gun world. Everyone's like, oh, well, how dare them replace the venerable 1911 with a Beretta? The Beretta just sucks. It's not as good as the 1911. And then 20 or 30 years, they're like, yeah, how dare them replace the venerable Beretta with the P320, the SIG? It's going to be the same way in 30 years. Anyway, so that's going to be a cool gun to review. I tried to get it to the range. I just didn't have enough time. Right now, I'm taking a bunch of stuff on every range trip and just getting through as much as I can, time allowing. So that was already in the range bag, but I did not get to shoot it yet. So now let's go to my first impressions. We'll do the pistol first. So I was able to move something to the front of the line, because I think he wants it back kind of soon. The Sig Sauer P220 single action only Legion. And this is on loan to the channel from Michael. And beautiful gun, big hefty gun, steel frame. And shooting this gun, I can tell you, it feels like a very high quality gun. Like it just in your hand, this is a hefty gun. Believe it or not, I think the weight is actually a big detraction away from this. When I was trying to take my time and put a couple magazines through it on camera, if you really take your time, the gun really does get heavy after a while. However, this is probably the lightest recoiling 10mm pistol I've ever shot. 10mm has never felt so good to shoot. So the weight of this gun is both a con and a pro, or a pro and a con. The pro, man, this gun shoots so smooth. It shoots so light for 10mm. I really feel like if you're somebody that is recoil sensitive and is scared to shoot a 10mm, you'd have a great time with this. Like, it really recoils less than a 45. More than a 9, but not much. Really impressed with that. But shooting it for a while, its weight kind of, you know, makes you tired a little bit. You know, for me anyway. I'm not saying like it hurts or anything, but, you know, if you're sitting there taking your time and you got this gun up for 45 seconds to a minute and you're holding it and you're really trying to aim your shots, towards the end of those magazines, you're like, man, this gun is heavy. You start kind of readjusting your grip. You know, you kind of start to feel it in your arms. And then when you're done, you're like, oh, man, that's a lot better. So there's, as I said, a pro and a con to it. So how does it shoot? How does it shoot? I know people are going to ask. it shoots, I'm going to say this, okay, when it comes to accuracy. My problem with SIGs, okay, and I've talked to other people about this. I mentioned this in some of my range reports. I find that when you're using iron sights, SIGs shoot inconsistent from gun to gun. I shoot typically guns from the same company all the same. You know, like Glocks, always low and to the left. And I know I've had some comments like, well, that just means you're a terrible shot, whatever. But I shoot them consistently, okay? SIGs, I typically, but not always, shoot low. But that's because SIGs, I believe, use something that people refer to as the combat sights. So if you line up the 3 dots, the 2 in the back and the 1 in the front, where they're perfectly in a line, they're going to shoot low. And they're designed that way. You're supposed to have the center dot or the front sight above the other 2. But I can't always dial in and figure out how high is that supposed to be. And for me, it's not a natural way of lining up your iron sights. And some SIGs, in fact, the SIG P220 I have in for review from Jack number 1, he told me, because I haven't shot that gun yet, he told me that when he took it to the range, it shoots, I mean, crazy low for him. And I'm like, yeah, that's typically a SIG. But it seems to be lower for him than what other SIGs are. I've just always had problems with the SIG sighting system. So I spend most of my time just trying to figure out where the sights want to be. And of course, I have limited time and limited ammunition. So it's not like I can practice for 500 rounds with a gun before I review it. So I have to try to get used to a gun relatively fast. Now, I guess when it comes to the accuracy, the good thing about the accuracy of this gun is that even though it's not the best group in the world, it's consistent at all distances. So I shoot at 7 yards like I do at 25. But let me show you my target. In fact, I filmed, because I was so disappointed with myself at 15 yards, I filmed it twice. I'm going to show myself going, okay, I'm getting used to the gun now. I'm going to try it again. So here we go. I actually brought the target home to kind of show you what I was struggling with. So this was at 15 yards. Okay, this is 2 magazines, so this would have been 16 rounds right here. And you'll notice that my group is not all that good. At 7 yards, I was for the most part all in the green. Okay, but at 15 yards, it opened up like this, and you'll see that I'm struggling. Like I get some stuff way up here, some stuff down here, and a lot of it is just elevation. I'm trying to figure out, okay, so the gun's front sight wants to be this high above the rear sight. Okay, so now I'm really high. Okay, I'm gonna bring that down, and I shoot really low. I just could not get this dialed in with the iron sights. Now, maybe if I shot this gun with a red dot, it'd be different, but I don't know, just SIGs seem to shoot low, and I don't know, this one's a little bit inconsistent. As I said, it's not bad. This is just the group I got at 15 yards, and this is the second of 2 magazines. I shot 2 magazines first. This is the second 2 magazines that I shot. And as you can see, I'm struggling. I'm struggling with elevation. And I was not pulling these shots. On my 7 yards target, when you see it, you'll see I have like one that's way low, and that was totally me flinching, and I will totally own up to that one, okay? That was not the gun. But this is me just struggling with that front sight, because then when I feel like, oh, I know where it needs, nope, it changes on me. But at 25 yards, the group actually was a little bit better than this one, because I was shooting it from the bench. But yeah, so accuracy, as I said, okay, definitely good for practical or range use or self-defense, but it's not a tack driver. But I feel like it wants to be a tack driver because of how high quality the gun is. Like, it's built so freaking well. Yeah, it's awesome in that way. But yeah, no other malfunctions, hiccups, ran hollow points just fine. Triggering it is really nice. It's just a solid gun. It's just heavy, and I can't figure out the iron sights. Okay, so that's the SIG P220. And remember, anything I say here on the table can change when it comes to the actual range report. Because sometimes I'll go in and I'll review the footage. Things aren't as good as I thought they were, or maybe they're better than I remember them being. You can go either way. And I also kind of talk to myself before I film each segment to remind myself what I want to say. And then sometimes I might change my opinions, or as I said, based off of what I said and what I see on the footage. But this is just me coming home and telling you what I discovered. All right, so that was the P220. All right, so now the next thing I want to show you that I reviewed, and I didn't know how I was going to feel about this one. Here we go. Suppressor. This is the Huxworks Cash 9K, and they're kind of cutesy with it, where they spell it CA and then the $H, 9K. So this is supposed to be a pretty short 9mm suppressor. Now, according to their website, this is supposed to be optimized for like submachine guns and SBRs and pistol caliber carbines. However, I shot it on an FN509 tactical, so a pistol. And there's things about this suppressor that I like and things that I don't. So let me give you just a quick rundown of it. Huxworks makes kind of flow-through silencers, and I think their rifle suppressors work really well. They do what they're supposed to do. Their pistol suppressors still use more of a traditional baffle design, but on the outer part of the baffles, they have these cutouts or things that are milled in that are kind of like spiraling the air to get the gas to flow out the front. Does it work as much? I don't think it does, because we have more traditional baffles. I do think there is a little bit less recoil for this suppressor's. I'm sorry, did I say less recoil? Less gas. I'm sorry, less gas. For the size of this suppressor, I think you get pretty darn good suppression. I would say it's probably hearing safe. It's a very small can. I can get you the specs later. It's light, but that's because internally these baffles, not all of them, I think the blast baffle and the end baffle are stainless steel. The rest of them are aluminum. And now that is going to be my biggest gripe about this suppressor. Now, I was assuming with a name like Cash 9, like maybe made out of aluminum, this is going to be a lower end, more affordable suppressor. Okay, like every company has this. Okay, Silencer Co., you name it, they'll have their more high-end pistol, suppressors, and then they have their more entry-level, budget-friendly suppressors, which might be, only a few $100, where their higher-end ones made of titanium or stainless steel or 600, 700. This one's expensive, like not super expensive, but I put it on par with like a Silencer Co. Octane 9 in cost. But it has an aluminum baffle stack in it. Now, why is that bad? Some people are going to ask. For me, aluminum is the worst common material that they build suppressors out of, or anybody builds suppressors out of, because it's light, but it's not durable. So you will get more erosion with an aluminum baffle stack. And I would open this up and show you, but I haven't cleaned it yet, and I don't want to get carbon and lead all over the place. And I would show you, but you get more erosion on the aluminum, and you can't put it into a sonic cleaner. If you guys are unaware, if you guys have suppressors and you have a sonic cleaner, sonic cleaners will erode aluminum relatively fast. Like literally, it like pits the aluminum and breaks it down. It does not do that to stainless steel or titanium, or Inconel, or Stellite. All those materials, rock solid, and will be cleaned just fine in a sonic cleaner. You cannot put aluminum in a sonic cleaner. So you can't put the tube, which is normal, because you can clean the tube easy. But you can't put these baffles in there, which means you have to take a brush of some kind. And if you're going to clean suppressor, a nylon brush, which you might use on your Glock or Smith & Wesson M&P to clean out the, the breech face or the slide, it's not going to be effective at all. I find you have to end up using like a copper brush, and if it's really bad, you got to use like a bronze or a stainless steel brush. And of course, this material is going to be more coarse, and it's going to be harder than the aluminum. So if you end up having to clean the baffles with a brush, you're going to essentially be damaging over time the aluminum baffles. But if you throw it into a sonic cleaner, you're going to erode the baffles. There's no real way of cleaning them without damaging them over time. And for me, the cost of this suppressor and its size, if they made it all out of stainless, it wouldn't be an issue. Yeah, you'd have some more weight involved in this, just a little bit, but I think you'd have a more durable suppressor with the same suppression, because the material doesn't really affect the suppression reduction or this decibel reduction, but it'd be easier to clean. Yeah, and you'd add just a little bit of weight. So the silencer works, okay? It has a pretty good tone. It does reduce the back pressure or the gases coming back into the user's face. It's light, but it's aluminum, and it's expensive. If this thing was half the price that they're asking for it is, and by the way, people are going, how much is it? Remember, I never list prices, because you might be watching this video 5 years from the date that I make it, and the prices on everything have changed or whatever. But also, I don't want to confuse the YouTube algorithm and think I'm, selling guns, because I'm not an FFL. I do not sell guns. I'm not in that business. I just review guns. That's all that I do. So I don't want to confuse anybody. But what they're currently asking for this at the time that I am filming it, I think is too expensive for an aluminum suppressor. I'm sorry, it just is. They obviously can make the baffles out of stainless, because I think the blast baffle and the end baffle are stainless. The main part of the middle is not. I do like the fact that the baffles in this suppressor have a locking, like a slot, where you don't have to worry about lining up the clips in the baffle. If you guys are familiar with baffle designs, many times they'll clip the cone a little bit. That has something to do with suppression. I'm not 100% sure what it does, but they say if you line them all up evenly, you get even better suppression with a silencer. And some companies like Silencer Co., you kind of have to, when you're reassembling the suppressor, you're going to kind of have to turn the baffle, click them together where everything's kind of lined up, and it's really hard to get it perfect. This makes it super easy, because the baffles will only go together one way, and it lines everything up, and that's pretty sweet. They're just made of aluminum. So that was my thoughts on the Cash 9 by Huxworks. It works, but from a cost and material standpoint, I might go in a different direction. But I think it's a solid design, it's the right size, and good suppression. All right, let me get the other thing that I reviewed. And I think I've shown you this before. And this was an absolute hoot to review. Here it is. I think this is the PTR Industries clone of an MP5, but it was turned into an SD by High Tech Guns in Dallas, which used to be called TPM Outfitters. So this is just it. I mean, when it comes to an MP5, in my personal opinion, it's the best pistol caliber carbine. It's the best SBR you could possibly have. It's so light recoiling, but it's the full size, where I recently reviewed the K model. It's just too short. This thing is even quieter. It's more ergonomic. It's just the right size. I understand why people like the K guns, but man, the full-size MP5s are just the way to go. This thing is unbelievable, and this is one of the few guns that I would say is close to Hollywood quiet. Hollywood lies to people about how silent silencers are, but this one gets pretty darn close, especially because it's integrally suppressed. It slows all of the projectiles down to subsonic velocities. So even if you're shooting 115 grain, you're in the high 800, 900, or low 900 feet per second range. It's always super, super, super quiet. And yeah. Now, there's one thing about this gun. Oh, by the way, this thing is super accurate. So much fun to shoot. This is just the gun. This right here, I think, is peak gun technology. There's only a few things that I wish were more modernized, like a magazine hold open and so forth. A last round magazine hold open. But overall, it's just like peak gun technology from the 60s. See, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, one other thing that made this review really cool and special is that when I was at the range well, not actually, before I got to the range, I have a friend who's an SOT, okay, special occupational taxpayer, I think is what it stands for. Anyway, so they're someone that can deal and make NFA firearms. They saw I was going to review this, and they reached out and were like, "Hey, when are you going to the range? Because I got something you may want to try out with that gun." I said, "Oh, okay." And I think you know where I'm going with this. So I won't spoil the review, but I'll just say I was able to shoot this really, really fast. And it's good to have friends that have SOTs because it makes reviewing guns a lot of fun. So met them at the range, and we changed something out on this. And for a few magazines, I was able to experience an MP5 for what it's really supposed to be. But I will save all of that for the review. I did catch some of it on camera on my phone, and I took some footage kind of face on. So I may edit that down to a like a YouTube short or something that I'll put on the main channel, or maybe I'll just do like a real quick video and release it that way. I made one with some music, but of course it would get copyright struck. So I just put that on my personal Facebook page. Oh, if you do want to see that video, it is on the Texas Gun Vault Facebook page. So go check that out. There's a link in the description below. You can go see it with the music. But yeah, I get to shoot this and have some fun with it the way I think it was supposed to be experienced. So yeah, but in semi-automatic mode, which is what this is here, because it's just an SBR, it's still a lot of fun. It's pretty darn awesome. So anyway, that is my upcoming projects and first impressions of 3 things I am reviewing. And I'll try to get to the range, film some more content, and then this next weekend coming up, I have a 5-day weekend. So I'm hoping if I get enough range footage shot, I'll be able to spend the entire weekend just doing the garage portion of stuff and editing videos, which would be pretty sweet. So anyway, that's what's going on. Let me know if you have any thoughts on any of the guns I showed you today. And I always enjoy getting your insights because I often learn as much from you guys as hopefully you learn from me. So the word of the day is going to be, I'm going to figure that out today. Let's say the word of the day is cash. Cash, because I reviewed the Cash 9 from Huxworks. And you can spell it with the $sign or just with an S. It's your choice. So that's the word of the day if you watch to the end of this very long and rambly 28-minute video. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you as always for joining me here in the garage. I'm the most blessed gun YouTuber and rumbler in the world because I get to review some amazing stuff, get some amazing opportunities, and honestly, I have some of the best viewers and subscribers in the world that help me out and make all of this possible. I just cannot put into words how blessed I am to have people that lend guns to the channel so I can review them and get to experience them. I don't know, man. It's just amazing. I'm the luckiest guy on earth in so many ways in my life. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. So as always, thanks for watching.